Salve, we are picking up the poem here in lines 418. We're going to go to 422 in this episode. And we've skipped some lines. We left off at 209, and so now we're skipping about 200 lines. And a lot happens in those lines. Let me recap real quick what happens. We left Aeneas when he was shipwrecked with his comrades, and they were just about to feast. So the Trojans feast, and they lament their lost comrades. Then the focus shifts to heaven, where Venus complains to Jupiter that the Trojans are having a hard time, and Jupiter consoles her with the promise of universal empire for the Trojans through their descendants, the Roman people. Then Jupiter sends down Mercury to Dido at Carthage, and Mercury prepares the way for Aeneas and the Trojans to peacefully enter Carthage. Meanwhile, Aeneas sets out to explore the unknown regions that he's landed in. He doesn't know where he is yet. And he meets his mother, Venus, and she's disguised as a huntress. And he doesn't know it's her when he's talking to her, but he suspects that it's a goddess, because he calls her goddess. And Venus tells him all about Carthage and relates the history of Dido, that she is a queen who has come from Phoenicia, and she's fleeing her evil brother, Pygmalion, who murdered her husband, Zacchaeus, and she left with a number of refugees from Tyre and Sidon in Phoenicia to found this colony at Carthage. And so Aeneas learns the whole history. He learns where he is from this huntress, who is Venus in disguise. And as Venus leaves, he realizes it is his mother, and he scolds her. And then Venus puts Aeneas and Achates, who he's with. I didn't mention that earlier, but he's with Achates. She puts them into a thick cloud so nobody can see them. They're basically invisible. So that way they can enter Carthage without anyone stopping them and saying, hey, who are you? And they can view the city, and they're going to go right to Dido. We're going to see in the next lines, without being seen. So in this next scene that we're going to see, they are going to take up the road to Carthage. They're going to ascend a large mountain and look down onto the city, which is still being built because it's just been founded very recently. And all of what I've been reading, I have a short summary. I added some details to it, but there's a short summary in your packet that you can read between these lines. Let's begin. Corripuere vi interea qua semita monstrat. Iam quascendebant collem qui plurimus urbi imminent, adversas quad spectas de super arces. Miratur mollem Aeneas Magallia condam, miratur portas, strepitumque strata viarum. Might notice there's a lot of M alliteration going on here. Sounds very nice. Here we go. Corripuere vi interea qua semita monstrat. The subjects here are Aeneas and Achates, and I added them in here for you. They corripuere. They take up, or they snatch up. We've seen this verb used in several ways. I think the winds were snatching up things too. Corripuere. Con plus rapio. To snatch up. And it really is corripuerunt. Let's add that in. Corripuerunt. Don't forget, it's erunt. Putting in a okay, so corripuerunt. And they snatch up, what do they snatch up? They snatch up the wiam, the road, and interea, meanwhile. So meanwhile, they snatch up, or they take up the road. They hit the road. Qua, translate qua as where. Qua semita monstrat. Semita is a path. Where the path, subject. Monstrat, shows, and you got to add in se itself, where the path shows itself. Jam quascendebant colem, qui plurimus urbi iminet. Jamque, and now, they, and this is Acades and Aeneas again, they, this is plural verb, ascendebant, they ascended, a colem, a hill. So let's do that part one more time. And now they ascended a hill. And now the hill is going to be described in this next part of the sentence by the qui. It refers to the hill. So this is all a relative clause here. So let's bracket it off a little bit. Might make it a little easier to separate it and see it. They ascended a hill, qui, which, and this is referring to the hill, plurimus, very large, imminent, looms over or hangs over, the urbi, the city. And this is dative because the verb imminent takes the dative as its object. And now they ascended a hill which very large looms over the city. So they're going to be able to see the city from being on top of this hill. And the hill is also described in the next part of the relative clause here. And adversasque, and adspectat, looks down. De super is an adverb, from above. It looks down at the adversas arches, the opposite cities or citadels. It's like the center of the city is the arches, the citadels. On the opposite citadels, those go together. So, they ascend this hill, and then down below, here's the city. Okay? And they're going to be able to see, Aeneas and Acades from up here can see all this. Miratur molineas magalia quondam, miratur portas strepitumque strata viarum. You might notice some anaphora here. The repetition of miratur adds to the drama. The subject is Aeneas. Aeneas wonders. He's amazed. Comes from the verb miror. And this is a deponent verb, meaning it has passive forms. Restur, mer, mini, and ter. But it has active meaning. So Aeneas wonders at the molem, at the mass, meaning the mass of construction, which is the city below here. He wonders at the mass of the city. You could add in urbis there if you like. And there's in apposition to the mass is, let's see. I don't know if it's an apposition, but it describes it. Magalia quondam. Once huts. Yeah, I think that would be in apposition. So once huts. Quondam, formerly or once, at one time huts. So this city here used to be huts, and it's supposed to make you think of Rome. Rome originally was huts too, and now it's being constructed into a great city. And the Romans take pride in the fact that their city is now this great city, probably the foremost city of the world known to them, and it once was huts too. So Aeneas wonders at the mass, once huts, magalia. Miratur portas stripitumque strata virarum. And you could put in an et here, and then we have this miratur, he wonders. when you have repetition like miratur, miratur, it really signals that there's an et because you repeated the verb. So he wonders at the mass, and he wonders at the portas, the gates, strepitumque, and the noise, and remember this que right here is separating these two things. Okay, he wonders at the gates and the noise of the city being built. Strepitum is loud noise. And the strata virarum, and the pavements or the beds. This is a neuter here. Yes, and the beds, and then what kind of beds or pavements? We got a genitive of the streets. Okay, so one more time. Aeneas wonders at the mass of the city. Formerly huts, or once huts. And he wonders at the gates and the noise of the construction, meaning, and the pavements of roads, or and the beds of roads. So all features of a city, noise of its construction, the gates, the roads, and Aeneas wonders at it because he knew this once at Troy, but for some time now he's been wandering, and now he's finally seeing a city again. So this is an emotional time for him. And as I'm looking at this right here, I realize I have to make a little correction. I realize that the autocorrect on erunt did, here, let me take care of this real quick. The autocorrect on erunt up there made it erupt, but remember this is koripu erunt. I missed that. Apologies. Okay, we're going to leave these lines and we'll pick up the next ones. Wale.